The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's 11 o'clock. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Werner. I will be the wingman of our wonderful Yvonne today. Yvonne
Hello
will
guys,
present,
good morning.
Good morning. Yvonne will present this webinar about PB menu and VNC. So please take over.
Thank you, Werner. Okay, let's start. So, okay, today we are talking about the Pandora's box menu and the VNC Remote tool. The webinar overview. So you will get an overview about the Pandora's box menu and the remote tool. You will learn how to install the applications, what kind of features you can use, what kind of tools, and we will go through all the menu items together. So yeah, if you have questions during this webinar, please feel free and to add some questions into the chat. Werner will answer your questions and I will do my best as well. So Pandora's box menu, what is it exactly? It's a software which starts automatically when booting. So it is pre-installed on our Christie hardware. When it boots, it covers the whole Windows desktop. And what can you do? So it gives access to the most needed actions like starting the Pandora's box master application, the client software. You can configure your network settings, opening File Explorer, and so many options. So you will learn it today, what kind of features you can use. How does it look like? So here the Pandora's box menu starts at the left top corner and covers the whole desktop. Today I will use the Pandora's box menu version 6.4.0, so it's the latest official release version. It's compatible with Windows 8.1 and Windows 10. Okay. Yes, I've already explained it's pre-installed on Pandora's box hardware. If you want to use your own hardware, your own laptop, and you would like to use the Pandora's box menu as well, then you can find the application in our download center under Tools, Pandora's box menu. If you have installed Pandora's box menu, then you find the installation path under C, System, LCD menu. Here, that's the installation path. One important note regarding Windows 10 updates. With the new Pandora's box menu version, all Windows 10 updates are deactivated, and yeah, if you want to reactivate it again, yes, it's possible. In our help file is a step-by-step instruction you can follow to activate it again. So why have we deactivated the Windows 10 updates? Because we had some support issues with new updates. That's the reason why we have deactivated it per default with the Pandora's box menu. Yes, so I would say let's go through the several menu items now. I can switch between my windows by using Alt-Tab. Here we are. Here is my Pandora's box menu. Let's start with the first icons here on top, the Master, Client, and Widget Designer. So yeah, it's self-explained. Here you can start the master application, which is possible with the Pandora's box manager, server, or player. Here you can start the client application, which is only possible with the server and player hardware. And the widget designer application here. So these options are linked to the configuration tab. Configuration, Pandora's box is linked to master and client. So go to Pandora's box, dialog appears. And here in my drop-down list, you find all installed Pandora's box versions. For example, the latest version 6.4.2. So I can select the version and after that I close the window and press the master button. Some more information about the checkboxes and the settings here. So you have the option to set Pandora's box in auto start. That means if you reboot the machine, Pandora's box will start automatically after a delay time of 30 seconds. So the 30 seconds is a default time here. Of course, you can change it if you like. Don't forget to check master or client. So in my case, I have selected the manager. That's the reason why I've selected the master application and not the client, because it's not possible to start the manager in client mode. Then the next field is the domain field. The domain field is also linked to the auto start function. Okay, so if you start Pandora's box manually here by pressing these buttons, it doesn't take the domain from this field. Okay, if you set it to auto start and Pandora's box starts automatically, then it takes the domain number here from this field. The checkbox check process means it asks every 60 seconds if Pandora's box replies. If not, then Pandora's box will be restarted. Yeah, quite easy. That's about the Pandora's box configuration option. Same applies for the Widget Designer. Configuration, Widget Designer. Also a drop-down list with the Widget Designer installation path. And there's an auto start function available as well, a delay time 30 seconds. If you want to set Widget Designer and Pandora's box in auto start on the same machine, then I recommend to change the delay time, because at the moment Pandora's box and Widget Designer starts after 30 seconds together. So that might be too much performance. So change it here, for example, to 40 seconds, then Pandora's box starts first, and after that, Widget Designer. There are some different modes, so you can start the Widget Designer in the free version, regular, or unlimited version. Here is also the viewer mode. The viewer mode applies for the older versions, not version 6. In version 6, it's not yet available. Okay, yes, and if you've selected the version, then you can start the Widget Designer here. So it's like a shortcut. So that's about the master, client, and Widget Designer. The next option here is the remote tool. Let's go back to my presentation. What is the Pandora's Box VNC Remote tool? An overview. So it's the remote tool and the VNC Server client are always part of the Pandora's Box menu. You can also start the Pandora's Box remote tool separately, so you do not need Pandora's Box menu. There's a download available in the download center under tools. So there's the remote application as well. So yes, VNC software is for remoting, control another computer. So if you have a huge setup with Pandora's Box, you have a manager and some server players, and you would like to get access from the manager machine, then you could use the remote tool to remote control the server and the player to change the graphics card settings or whatever you want to do from one machine, provided that they are in the same network. So it offers you an overview of all devices in the network, and yes, many more options. We will go through all the items together today. But before, here is an image how it looks like. Today I will use the Pandoras box VNC Remote version 6.1.6, and it's also compatible with Windows 8.1 and Windows 10. Yeah, I would say let's start with the Pandoras box remote tool. A left mouse click on remote. Here is the remote interface. So there are many options. We start with the first look. So it's before you start using this tool, my first look goes to my IP address here on top. That's very important. Check if the correct IP address is listed here, and that the LAN adapter is also set correctly. You can check the Pandoras box menu here as well. So LAN 1 is 2.0.0.1, and the IP address is here the same, so we are fine. Then I would like to show you how to remote control in to another device. So there are several options. The first way is here to use this field next to VNC. I have a compact player connected to my network, which has the IP address 2.0.2. Enter the IP address and press enter. So now we are connected to my compact player, which has here the IP address 2 in the end. A scroll bar appears at the right side, so I can scroll down and up to see the whole output. I have only one output connected. If you have more outputs, then you would see all outputs in line or in a vertical way. That's the reason why we have the scroll bar. Okay, to disconnect, just disconnect here on top with this button. Another option is to go to the Tools option here. Tools, Server Control. Opens a table with all connected devices in my network. So if a next device was joining this network, then you can scan this network. At the moment, I'm only connected to my compact player, and here the first one is my laptop. There are some more options here listed. And if you like to remote control into my compact player, make a left double click onto it. So now we are connected. Press disconnect, or make a right click and say connect to IP1 or connect to IP2. So take the first one. We are connected. Another option is to add a system to my interface here. Make a right click into the background and say add system. So now you can add a new connection. You know my IP address of the compact player is 2 in the end. It's, for example, zone number 1, and the type is a compact player. So you have the option between dual player, server, workstation. I take the compact player. Page is set to default page. At the moment, we are using just one page. Later, I will explain how to create several pages. The FTP server, here are the default values. the FTP server. So what is it for? It allows a file transfer and administration, renaming, deleting files from a remote computer using the FTP client. So you do not need the Pandora's box menu for using the FTP client. You can also use a third party software or built-in software. Important is that you are running the FTP server on your Pandora's box machine. Yes, yeah, we will leave it here and press OK. So a system was added and the system is online. That means we are connected. The name and the IP address. A left double click. Let us remote control into it. Disconnect or right click VNC connect. And connected. So you know, so you see there are many options to remote control in your computer. So here on top there are some icons which are very useful. So if you have many systems, you can arrange them with the move mode. So enable the move mode and you are able to change the position. So let's say you have another system with another IP address, 3 in the end, it's zone 2, and it's a dual server. Okay, now you have here the system for zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 2 is offline because I have no connected device which has the IP address 3 in the end. Go back to run mode, so it's similar to Widget Designer with the shortcut Alt-M. You can switch into the move mode and Alt-R switch to the run mode. Yeah, and so the next option, let's go to the VNC tab here on top. There is view only, auto scale and refresh. What does it mean? Let's connect to my zone number 1 and let's enable view only. Here, have a look at the right up corner. There is a text blinking. View only means you have no control over your compact player. You can only view the output. Okay, disable it again. VNC auto scale means now I have an overview over all connected outputs to my compact player without using the scroll bar. Let's switch back. So now the scroll bar appears again. Here we are. VNC Refresh, yeah, self-explains. So if you are disconnected and you want to connect again, refresh the system. Okay. There are some useful commands in the Pandora's Box remote tool. Pandora's Box to start the master application, client application, or to close the Pandora's Box software, to restart it, or to start all master or client applications which are in the same network. Please be careful because if you execute the start all master or client command, verify that the Pandora's Box version is selected correctly under configuration Pandora's Box. So yeah, starting master client. And in this system, there you have the option to reboot the whole system, to set it in standby mode, to shut down, or to reset the menu. So if something has changed, then reset the menu to apply the new values. For example, if you change something in the network. Reset VNC server, or to apply it to all machines, or to start the task manager. These options are also available here. Right-click on the system, Pandora's box, Start Master, Start Client, Close, or to the system. And the setup. Yeah, here you have the option to set the date and time, or set date and time to all. If you have many devices in your setup, then please set the same date and time to all machines. So let's say if you have some issues and the support is asking for log files, then it's much easier for us to analyze the log files when the date and time is the same. Okay. So we have talked about the VNC and the command step. We've already talked about the server control icon, and now let's go to the FTP client. So what kind of values do I need to enter here? I would like to connect to my compact player here and to transfer files from my local file system to my remote computer. So for that, I need to configure the FTP server on my compact player. So close the window again and let's connect to the compact player. You find this option under Configuration, FTP Server. So there you have the option to start the FTP server. Per default, if Pandora's box menu has started, then the FTP server has started as well. So usually you don't need to start manually. You can stop the FTP server or to reset the FTP server. Go to Open Configuration, and here we are. I have already prepared something for the admin user. So to select the IP address from the drop-down list, the port is per default 21, and a route where I would like to transmit the files from. If you want to add another user with less permission, for example, then you can go to the Add button. So a new user, you can enter a name, a password, and a path. Either you enter the path in the field or you use the box here in the end. Then you can decide what can the user do. So uploading files, download, create directories, rename and move files, or deleting files. Okay, I have prepared the admin user so he can control everything. Let's close it again. Close, so it's already configured. Let's go back to Tools, FTP Client. So the IP address, the username, admin, and the password. And port 21. Update FTP route. So the folder structure appears here. My local file system is on the left side. So now I could open a folder here named images and transmit a file from my local system to my remote PC. For example, let's check. I have some images. Or we take the stock asset because the images are already there. Test pattern, so a color bars, for example. So color bars appears. So now I have easily copied an image from my local file system to my compact player. Yes, that is all about the FTP client window. Yes, there are via mouse right click, there's a refresh button to refresh the file structure, or I can delete the file as well. So do you really want to delete it? Yes. Okay, close window. That's all about the tools. Now let's jump to edit. There are some more options. Let's go to connections. So here in the drop-down list, I see all systems which I've added to my page. So zone 1 and 2 with the related IP address. I can, another option to remote control to my machine is by using the VNC Connect button. I'm connected. The server control is the server control window and the FTP file upload. So what does it mean? Here I have a name, webinar, Pandora's box menu, and 2 folders. Where can I find it? Let's close the window again and remote control into the compact player and activate my taskbar on the compact player, because now I cannot see my taskbar. Let's go to configuration, taskbar on. The taskbar appears, and here we are. I see I have already prepared the Pandora's box project. So webinar Pandora's box menu, you can remember, here's the name of my Pandora's box project and the 2 folders. Okay, so let's go back to connections, FTP file upload. Here are my folders. What can I do now? I can make a right click onto my folder and have some options. For example, to upload a file directly into my Pandora's box project. Let's select the calibrate. Do you wish to overwrite this file? It's already, yes. Okay, here we are. Calibrate is now located in my Pandora's box project. So of course you can add more files and you do not need to connect to your compact player. It's just an example for you to see what happens here when I make some actions in the FTP media upload window. So upload file or a whole folder, or you upload a file with the related folder and file ID. Same applies for folder. Or you can set a file and folder ID to an existing folder. Let's try it out. I need to select the folder before. So set file and folder ID. Let's start folder ID 2 and file ID number 1. Okay, here we are. Now the folder and file ID is set to my images. You can also remove a media or delete the media or refresh the folder structure. Yeah, it's very cool. And close this window and disconnect again. So we talked about the connections window. Reset IP list means it removes my systems which I have created. Create page, rename page, delete page. You can create a new page. Page number 2. You can switch between your pages here by using the drop-down list, page number 2, and the default page. If you like, you can also rename pages to page number 1. Yeah, quite easy. Yeah, that's all about the Edit tab. Now let's jump to the File tab. You can create a new project, a new VNC project, open a project, or to save a project. If you save this VNC Remote project, it saves it as PBR. So if you have another show with the same setup, you can save the project and reopen it again. And yes, edit the properties to change it to the actual IP addresses, for example. Save VNC Screenshot means that it takes a screenshot of your connected device. Therefore, you have to connect to your device. So let's go to Save VNC Screenshot, and I save it to my desktop. So Screenshot test. Save. Let's go back to my Pandora's box menu. Here's a shortcut to open my File Explorer, File Browser. Oh, it appears on the second screen. Desktop Screenshot Test. And here's my screenshot. Very cool. And last but not least, the exit button. Before I press this button, is there any question, Werner?
Yes, there is a question. You were talking in the FTP section about the ports. Is there reserved ports for the PB menu? Can you show them?
Yes, I can. Yes, there are reserved ports. Let's go to our help file. Here is a help file shortcut in the Pandora's box menu. Let's go to Pandora's box, network and synchronization, and ports used by Pandora's box and Widget Designer. Scroll down to the end. So the Pandora's box menu uses these ports for the UDP broadcast connection, and here 50,000 for the TCP connection. Yeah, these are the reserved ports. And there are also the other ports listed for the Pandora's box communication, the web server, or the widget designer, and so on. So under Pandora's box network, ports used by Pandora's box and widget designer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, yeah. Then I press the exit button. And the next one is the tools option. It's the ArtNet monitor, DOM master, image converter, matrix patcher, splitter, and warper. These tools are also linked to the configuration Pandora's box version. So if you select the Pandora's box version 6.4.2 and starts the ArtNet monitor, for example, then the related ArtNet monitor version will start. So what is the ArtNet monitor version? Here you have an overview about the incoming ArtNet values, channel number 5 and 45 and so on. You see there are active ArtNet values on universe 0 and subnet 0. A really nice feature is the toggle overview button. There you have an overview about all universes. So you see on universe 0 and 1, I have active values. Let's switch to universe number 1. So here we are, channel 6 is in use. Switch back to 0 and the others. are active. You can select a dedicated adapter here in the drop-down list and a checkbox universe as single number. If you press it, then it starts from the universe number 1 and not from 0. Okay, so today I will not explain each tool in detail because I have just 1 hour. So the DOM master, what is it exactly? It's a tool to convert DOM master files to spherical map files. If you need more information, have a look in our help file or ask our support team. Or maybe we will start a new webinar about it. Then the image converter is to convert images or image sequences into another file format, and you can also change the resolution if you like. Very useful. The matrix patcher is for spherical applications where LED or lighting fixtures are required to be patched to individual pixels. So it's a tool to set up your patch. Then the splitter tool, there is already a webinar about it. It's named Splits and Virtual Sites. You can find it on our YouTube channel, Pandora's Box Learn. So there you can split images or images into several pieces. Then the Warper tool enables you to project on any screen shape. There is a 2D and a 3D edition. So the 2D edition is now integrated in the Pandora's Box version 6. It's named the Mesh editing mode. It's much easier to use now in version 6 than in the Warper tool before. And the 3D edition is only available in the Warper tool. That the marker calibration to have the option to map on 3D objects. Okay, yes, that's all about the tools. The file browser, I have used it before, opens the widget, the file explorer. And then the display setup. When I press display setup, then the NVIDIA control panel is starting, but on my laptop I have not so much information. That's the reason why I give the floor to Werner now, because he has a Pandora's Box server connected to his machine and he has a little bit more information and the display setup dialog from Pandora's Box.
Yes. So, can you see my screen clearly?
I can see your screen. I hope the others as well.
So I have a manager with the IP address 20010, which you see over here, and I'm remoted into my server, which is IP number 20011. And if I press the display setup menu, you will see that we have actually 2 graphics cards installed in this machine. So usually the setup would be, you would see the 4 outputs of the usual NVIDIA setup. So this one looks slightly different because it has 2 graphics cards, but the setup is exactly the same. You see the display configurations. You can choose between your different resolutions. If you change the resolution, you of course have to apply it. From here, you can open the NVIDIA settings straight away. If you want to go into your system topology, that you can reach with this menu point as well. Oops, now I'm gone. Remote. Press the wrong X. Here we go. You can rescan and reset the graphics card, and you can create and add your own EDIDs in this add button, but you have to be very careful with that. You have to be an expert, I would say, if you want to change your EDIDs. That's more advanced stuff, and there will be probably tons of more webinars. That's it for the display setup.
Thank you, Werner.
I give it back. I give the monitor back to Yvonne.
Yes, thank you. Okay, one more comment from my side. If you want to learn more about EDIDs, there is a webinar named Manager How to Camera Setup. Thomas shows you or explain something about EDIDs. It's already on our YouTube channel. And one more comment. So in my case, when I press display setup, you see the dialog which you have seen before on Werner's machine is not showing up. Why? The reason is the graphics card which is installed, because there are 3 supported GPUs. It's the P1000, the P4000, and the M4000. So if you have installed one of these graphics cards, then the display setup dialog appears. Okay. The next item is the network setup. You can, here on the drop-down list, select your adapter to enable or disable DHCP. That means you have the option to set it to a static or a dynamic IP address. If you have a Pandora's box setup, I would recommend to use a static IP address, because if you are using the DHCP and the server generates after reboot a new IP address, then it might happen that the manager can't see the client anymore because the IP address has changed. So use static IP addresses is more safe. The MAC address, the IP address which you want to use, the subnet mask, and a gateway if required. And an overview about all 8 adapters. Here in the Pandora's box menu at the bottom, there is LAN 1 and LAN 2. So I have pressed OK, and it takes some time to refresh the IP address. If you, here we are, it's the one in the end. If the Pandora's box refreshes, but you can't see the IP address, it doesn't pop up, then it might be the reason that the adapter are named not in the right way. So that means you have to rename the first adapter to LAN or LAN 1. And the second adapter to LAN 2, and so on. If you rename it in a different way, whatever, hello, hi, then the IP address will not be listed here. Okay, configuration. We have already talked about the Pandora's box and Widget Designer to select the versions. The next one is the custom start. You can customize 3 menu items here: the file browser, display setup, or the network setup. Therefore, you go to the drop-down list and select another one. For example, Task Manager. Apply. So now Task Manager shows up here and not the file browser anymore. So you can switch between the items. Or if you have a custom application, then you can select it here via this file explorer. An auto start function is available and a delay time as well. You know it from the Pandora's box and Widget Designer application. Okay, let's switch back to file browser because I like the file browser shortcut. It's very useful. Okay, the next one is the VnC Remote. Yeah, if you have a DiamX link in connected to it, then you can send DiamX values on universe 0 subnet 0 to shut down or to reboot the system. He can enter the channel and the values and enable or disable it. So it's only available if you have a DiamX link in connected to it. It's connected via USB. If you want to learn more about it, have a look in our help file. Okay. Then the FTP server, we've already talked about it. The VNC server, there you have the option to set a password to it. So per default, there's no password, and the port number. Okay. Taskbar off and taskbar on. The task manager starts a Pandora's box task manager to have the option to kill Pandora's box, to kill the warper, widget designer, or all tools, or to start the Windows task manager. Okay. Next is the RAID setup. Yeah, it works only on Christie hardware, so it's opened the install RAID tool or its web interface. So on my laptop, I cannot show it. So it allows collecting information about the computer's RAID system and give the possibility to manage it. But please careful, we do not recommend to change anything in the RAID setup. So if you have any problems, then please contact our support team or the local distributor. That's the reason why I have now not explained the RAID setup. Last but not least, the show log files opens two windows, right and left, for the Pandora's box manager path for under program data, Christie Pandora's box log files, and the same applies for the widget designer log files. So when the support is asking for the log files, you can find the files here. Yeah, that's all about the configuration option. Setup. Yeah, display setup is the same icon which we have used before here. EDID link, it's an EDID manager. We have discontinued the EDID link, so I go one step forward to the network setup. Same option here, and the test pattern. There you have the option to switch between the test pattern, so it makes sense if you set up your show and Pandora's box application is not yet running, then you can select test pattern, which covers the whole output. So it's the same like they are in full screen. There you can check the colors or the geometry. Yeah, to have the circles and the lines. It's very useful. And the date and time, you've seen it before in the remote tool to set the date and time and the time zone. And last but not least, the end user license agreement. So when you start, when you boot Pandora's box the first time, there are two windows for QuickTime and Windows to apply. So if you want to see it again, press show and user license agreement, and after reboot you see the windows again. At the bottom, the Pandora's box menu version. Yeah, help file shortcut to open the help file. and shut down. So now I need to be very careful. Because you have the option to shut down the system, to reboot your local system, or to reset the menu. And yeah, the IP addresses, which I've set it before, the computer name, the disk storage space. In the new version, it's linked to see Christie content. With the older Pandora's Box menu version, it's linked to see Kulux content. And the date and time. Wow, we went through all the menu items. That was much information. Werner, are there any questions?
No, I think we're fine. We're good. I've placed a lot of links from the stuff which you explained in the chat function. So if you want, you can simply click on the chat function. You'll find links about the EDID link, about the DMX control, and so on and so on.
Cool, thank you.
Welcome.
Great. Then switch back to my presentation. Yeah, some more useful information. I have talked about it. There's a Pandora's Box Learn channel on YouTube. There you find all recorded webinars. In our Pandora's Box forum, you can add some ideas for next webinar topics. And the webinar schedule can be found on our website or on Facebook. And in the end, I would like to show you a nice announcement for next year. So the Christie Connect in Cologne is back in January. And yeah, it's a very, very cool show. You have a meet and greet with the conference speakers and with the Pandora's Box team, with the operators and partners and friends from all over the world. You can share your experience for upcoming features and products. So they are very exciting presentations. You're pretty welcome. On our website, you can register. Yeah, space are limited. We are happy to meet you next year. So now we are at the end of my presentation. I say thank you. Have a nice day and see you in the next webinar.
Goodbye. Thank you from my side. We will stay on for another 5-ish minutes and can. So if you want to ask more questions, just stay on this line. Enjoy your upcoming webinars. Goodbye.
Goodbye.